Hey there, I'm Dan Hollifield. Welcome to Last Man Standing. We are proudly part of the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. And let me just go ahead and do this. Welcome to the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. Here you will find a variety of shows which cover a wide array of interests, from comics to creativity, mysteries to mixology, and science to history. There's something for all interests at the Rising Tide. There are shows every day of the week, daytime and nighttime. So take a look at our schedule and see what appeals to you. If you're interested in comics, both independent and mainstream, check out Comics Chaos and Sass, or Comic Book Spectrum, or From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. If you want encouragement and advice on furthering your creativity, we have Creative as Hail and Tidbits and Scribbles. If you enjoy mysteries and conspiracy theories, we have The Truth Mongers. If you're into interviews with up-and-coming talents, there is a TED Talks made just for you, as well as clever title pending. If you're into classic combat sports, there's the Historical Fencing Guild. And if you want to know what it's like to hang out with convention regulars, we have Stupid O'Clock and Last Man Standing. If you want witty repartee and best fun, check out Nevermind the Furthermore. If the science of rocketry and spaceflight is your thing, we have Armchair Rocket Science. But that's by no means all the Rising Tide has taught. New shows will be added as they develop, so stay tuned. All Rising Tide shows share a spirit of mutual cooperation, under the philosophy that a rising tide raises all ships, lightly ruled over by our comic master of mayhem, Brian K. Morris. We support and promote each other's works. What helps one of us to greater success helps all of us achieve even more success. So look at the schedule, check out the shows, and we'll sure that you want to come back for more. And without further ado, we'll bring on Chris here, and we're waiting for any of our other folks to pop in and add to the madness. Let's see. Oh yeah, well, Chris, that's yeah. I have to re-record that with the new thing, so there. That was done in one take. It was not.
Yeah,
It was not cut
I
because
had noticed it before.
yeah, I had noticed it when it was going on, and believe me, the clicks in there drive me crazy too, and I can't figure out where they come through because
And it doesn't get there till like you're almost three-quarters of the way done.
yeah, well, I start talking louder.
Okay.
Yeah, and it happens, but I've got to redo the recording anyway because
Mhm.
it has now been superseded by new programs coming in. So
Yep.
on the schedule card, there's Michaela's morning motivationals,
Hmm.
and then Keisha Acuff is
Hmm.
actually doing once a week. Doesn't matter what day of the week she picks out, but her uh, uh,
Excuse me.
late nights with Keisha is now a regular thing. It just
Cool.
depends on when she has the time to actually sit down and do the show.
Yeah.
She can't sit a specific night of the week yet.
Yeah.
So it's no biggie.
Yeah.
Um, Everything is growing like a weed. So
Yeah, I started to say if this keeps up, there's not going to be any hours left during the week to do anything because Brian's going to have everybody on his network occupying every hour on the hour every day.
well, and then there's the other networks too with it, which has people that we know and love that we want to support their shows as well. It's
Yep.
just not Rising Tide,
Yep.
but it doesn't matter. It's
Yep.
it's it's
Nope,
folks that need to be supported. Um,
Exactly.
that's right. There's
Creative types need to have an audience and need to get their there's stuff out there so people can enjoy and consume if that's an appropriate thing for
Well,
them.
for example, tomorrow night, Keisha and Willow will have Cryptid Crunch on Back of the Cereal Box Network.
Yep.
And then there's there are loads of things. Seriously, if you've never sat down and watched Joe D. McPhee's from the desk of a small press publisher on Saturday nights, right before Stupid O'Clock. Matter of fact, they kind of overlap a little bit, but Joe's fascinating. He is. I mean, he knows quite a bit and is not afraid to critique things that need to be critiqued.
Oh yeah, I'm just the interactions he's had on Stupid and Last Man Standing. Very likable, knowledgeable person, and I enjoy listening to him. And
he knows his stuff, and he's a damn good writer, and he's got.
Surprised he didn't pop on tonight.
Well, he did. Stupid O'Clock.
Yeah, he said hi. He just didn't join the broadcast.
Yeah. Right. Well, I know that, but that's what I'm saying, to pop in there. That's why, I mean, there's so much out there right now. And like you said, Dan, you don't have to be totally devoted to Rising Tide. There's other shows out there too that deserve the same attention, and sometimes more, sometimes a little less, but they deserve the attention that we all give to our friends on here. And I think that's part of the reason why I don't have my own show. Not because everybody else is doing it, but the fact is that, yeah, where am I going to have it?
I was partially serious and I was partially joking about Brian going to have every hour on the hour, every day of the week occupied. But
give him time.
Yeah. Remember what happened last year, and he was on every day.
Yeah.
And of course that got to wear and tear on him.
Mm-hmm.
Like my grandmother would say, you ain't no spring chicken.
Nope.
And then Laura would correct me by saying there isn't such a word, ain't. She hates it when I say ain't.
Well,
I'm from North Carolina, so that's kind of happens from time to time.
It shows up as a correct spelling in my spell checker. Let me have you know.
As I told my mom in English words for pronunciation and grammar. Ah, nice. Ain't is going to become proper grammar at some point, and I will finally have my revenge. It may take a few years, but it will happen.
It is in the dictionary and that, but
it
yep.
And I'll remind Laura of that, but then she reminds me it still isn't proper.
It isn't proper to somebody that grew up to the old definitions, but it's proper now because it's proper usage.
I get her on one every time when we're getting ready to do our trip to Chicago on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And when we do, we stop, about an hour up in Gilman, Illinois she gasses up there at the Pilot. Then we go across the road through the drive up at the McDonald's to get breakfast and that, Carrie. And, she always says, can I get and whatever it is that we're going to get. And then I turn around and I look at her and I say, I don't know. Can you? And she gave me this deer caught in the headlight look first time I ever said it. And the only reason why I said it was because it was always said to me by my history teacher in high school. I don't know, Brother Sartain, which he never did call me by my right pronunciation. He knew it was Sartain, but he loved saying Sartain. And he goes, "Can you do this? Can you go to the restroom? I don't know what you are capable of." And of course, he finally would, if I said, "May I go?" then he would let me off the hook.
Mother, may I?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, well. And Laura always reminds me, she said, I only do this, and I encourage her to do it. It's kind of like the thing, or the or things of that nature.
Yep.
She said, "Well, because you are on a couple shows, and if you want to improve yourself."
Well,
yeah, which I do, because there's a lot of improvement down the road. But back to what I was saying before, other than doing these two shows, I don't think I would ever have one of my own. First of all, because I just don't have enough to talk about. But secondly, there's so much out there right now, and everybody can't watch everything. As much as I try, it's just not possible. And sometimes you got to kind of, it's kind of like watching TV in the old days. You got the big 3 networks on there, but 2 of your favorite shows are on opposite networks at the very same day and same time. At some point, you got to make a decision, at least for a while. So everything I do on my artwork page, like doing the Paul Lynn Halloween special, you can watch that any damn time you want. It's going to be on there. And here shortly, I'm getting ready to do a big double feature for Halloween, since that's the theme of the 2 Dr. Phibes movies with Vincent Price.
Oh, those are classics, yes.
And then I will do a Universal Monster movie, come close to Halloween, if not on Halloween. Been doing Frankenstein and Dracula a lot over the last couple of years, so we might go to something more of a hairy nature for this one.
Hey, I've got nothing against wolf people.
Nope, me either.
And for the record, I do speak colloquial, so I also speak industrial, and the less said about that, the better.
Dan, have you ever got a file from somebody that was the wrong format?
Lots of times.
And then the fighting to get it to work?
Yes.
Did you finally?
How do I convert this from some God forbidden program that should never have existed? Leper, uncast, unclean, how do I get this to work with what I've got to work with?
Well, I finally got everything straightened out and went to run it as a test print. Test print went perfect. Started at page 1, printed all of them off. I said, all right, so I get to make my labels up, put my labels in, printed them off backwards. Started at the last page first.
That don't work too good.
No. So I've ended up having to back up and punt 3 times. Uh-oh. The boss is on his tail.
Hell, pal. That's what I was doing, and I came back, and the show was over. And John and Carrie was still, John and Carrie was still on there, and I thought the show was still going. I'm like, it's after 12. Why haven't you stopped? Oh, yeah, it stopped. And they're just backstage talking still.
If you're wondering, Bucky's Hill Country brand teriyaki beef jerky.
Yeehaw.
And after the fight I just had between printers and files and
But you got over that hurdle.
Yeah. And Chris wants me to make a agenda for tomorrow. I don't know if that's going to happen or not.
Got the meeting tomorrow, you say?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let Chris make the agenda. But I seriously wish I could have came this year, financially and because of a couple of obligations
I understand
that due the day before. So, but it's hearing you guys talk about it, and then after it happens and everything, that's going to be incentive for next year.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it's that is the one thing I dread every year, because I have this fight every year with printer, and does it every time. And the problem is, this is the third printer since I started this convention. So it's the same every time.
FYI, I went on a invite blitzkrieg for the group. Just people that I knew that would be interested in the topics that we bring up. Right now, I'm seeing
Ace Bonnie says he's going to try and come next year.
2, 3, 4.
Ace, if you show up, you would probably be farthest traveled right now.
Yep. Because we don't know anybody attending that would be any further west than you are.
Yeah.
I know we got a dozen new members, including Ace Bonnie, which several of these people I thought they were in the group already.
Yeah.
You talking about
for as much as they interact on the shows and everything.
You talking about Stupid O'Clock?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, there is a couple, if they show up, hands down, they've won furthest traveled. Marcus and Renee.
Yeah. But I seriously doubt they get out of Australia.
Well, not this year. Maybe not next year. But yeah, Bill, if they show up, I promise you, they get farthest traveled. You know why? They live in Australia.
Are there still restrictions for air travel there?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of restrictions there.
I've actually heard there's being a lot of land restrictions that are being eased up now. I heard that on BBM yesterday.
I mean, I don't know what all the restrictions are. I've had friends from Australia complain about stuff, and I've had some that's like we're okay with it, and there's others that can't stand it. And it's like, it varies from person to person. Everybody's got a different viewpoint and outlook on it, and they're entitled to it. It's their viewpoint.
Well, probably one of the restrictions right now is all the cancellations from Southwest Airlines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, most of the flights coming out of Australia to the United States are going to be on Qantas. I don't know of any other carrier that goes there from the United States. Maybe New Zealand Airlines. I think they've got their own airline, but they don't have that huge fleet.
There was some deal today, and I kind of hesitate even to say anything at all about it because I don't really know details yet. But a similar, I will just leave it at this, similar issue for the reason behind the cancellations at Southwest that are happening with a certain police department north of us and their FOP, and it apparently went to court. So, but I've not heard enough about it yet to really say anything one way or the other, even just to say it as a news item, which is all that I would anyway. I would not say anything opinionated one way or the other.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, I just wanted to come back on and let you see it's done.
Congratulations.
I've had to reformat the file and delete a program and add a program and delete another program that conflicted with this program, and then finally get all the files to where they'll work together, and then the printer wanted to fight me.
Well, I started to say, did you have to re-enter everything all over again?
No. Y'all would have been handwriting badges from the list.
Damn.
That's how, and we were real close.
Well, congratulations on getting it transferred.
Yeah. What number amount are you up to now, Joe?
We're at 109.
109. Okay. I knew you surpassed 100, but I didn't know how far yet.
Yeah, we were at 109. I double counted a few. I had us up to 119 earlier today.
Oh.
Well, the thing is, considering we were all virtual last year, it's a good thing we passed the century mark.
Yeah. And also, the rollovers from 21 or from 20 to 21 were only 30.
Yep.
So we've picked up, 80?
Yep.
This year.
That's good.
People are ready.
Yeah, people want to return to live conventions. And I do hope that nobody is going to be making an ass of themselves about having to be safe.
Well, if people start getting a little out of hand, I'm going to walk by and give them a COVID test.
Oh.
Well,
bend over and take your COVID test.
No, I'm just going to walk up, talk to them, administer the COVID test, and walk away. If somebody says I don't smell anything, yeah, we're hauling their ass out there.
You're bringing the COVID test, not somebody else's.
Yeah.
It don't involve a Q-tip going up your nose.
I guarantee
it's more like, do you smell popcorn?
I guarantee you that penetrates further than that Q-tip ever dreamt about going.
Goes straight to the bone, huh?
Chris has been a victim, unwillingly.
Hell, Joe, that time you held it on the elevator at the last Anacrocon, and we went outside, it still damn near knocked me over.
And the wind was blowing.
And that was open air.
And
Chris looks like he's about
in corsets screaming for half a block.
It was god awful.
Chris looks like he's ready to pass out now just thinking about it.
Oh, the memory is stronger than the actual experience was, believe me.
I'm surprised he didn't kill the vegetation outside.
I'm surprised I'm surprised the elevator still worked.
No, he held it on the elevator because some ladies got on there. That was my saving grace because he was going to do it there. I don't think I would have been able to walk out.
Good
of the
night, everybody.
He had.
Yeah, I don't have all the extra videos on here because I didn't want to overload your storage space for stuff. So, oh Lord!
All right, I'm out of here. Chris, call me when you get up in the morning.
Okay.
So I can get started on the agenda. I've not even started the agenda yet.
Well, get you some sleep. It's probably going to be after 8:30 sometime. I don't know exactly.
That's better.
It's going to be a busy day for me too. But
All right.
You guys get up before noon?
Chris actually goes to church on Sundays.
usually,
Yeah,
I'm smart. I watch mine on Facebook.
well, I had to do that
course,
last weekend because I had a funeral I had to go to.
well, Lindsay does that as well as actually attend. So
it's down in.
right now they're doing live. So
I couldn't really attend right now if I wanted to because it's in Tuscaloosa and it's Josh's wife's uncle who's the pastor of the Baptist church there. But
yeah,
I tune in to the show live every Sunday.
Lindsay's church is a half a mile down the road. So
Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night, Joe. Lindsay's church is like half a mile down the road. So if she has to miss that, it means her car won't start, or she and I had too late of a Saturday night. And there have been times when we have got up to playing YouTube videos, and she's actually convinced me that I am able to sing when I know better.
I was working on that. Driving to Champaign today, I had to pop in a Paul McCartney and Wings DVD. And
there are very few things within my imaginary vocal range. And she doesn't like most of them, so we have to stick to
the tried and true.
Yeah, mostly country for that matter. Which me sounding like Kermit the Frog when I'm trying to sing does not mar the effect all that much. But
it's not easy being green. Well, I have my good days and bad days, Dan.
Well, I was thinking the Rainbow Connection would probably sound good with Dan singing it.
Yeah.
No, believe me, no, nothing sounds good with me singing it.
Well, there are a few songs that doesn't necessarily require one to have a good voice.
Yes, you never even call me by my name is one of those, and that's what she wants me to sing most often.
Or any song by Ringo Starr.
Hey, come on, Ringo can sing. He just kind of goofs off a little bit.
But it's kind of a monotone, higher than bass.
He's got a medium tenor voice.
I was thinking about Garth Brooks' Friends in Low Places. You don't necessarily have to have a great voice for that one either.
Oh, I can do that one at work when nobody's around. That way they don't hear how badly the notes crack and the ceiling tiles fall down. So
I've got a couple of buddies that I used to go sing karaoke with. They sound surprisingly good singing Brooks and Dunn's Neon Moon.
Karaoke is something I've never had the courage to attempt. I will tell you one that I'm quite fond of, but I make sure nobody's around to listen to when I actually do sing is Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Big and Rich are a lot of fun.
I can manage that. I mean, I can even harmonize with them, but don't ask me what universe that harmony happens in, because it's certainly not in key. But
sorry, Ace, I'm just now seeing your comments. So it was funny. I was too busy reliving the moment. It was painful.
Oh, and
now
I do wish Kerry would come in too, because he's a lot of fun.
And Ace,
and he was talking with John backstage when I can't, or not backstage here, but at the end of Stupid Clock, they were still in there.
Well, it may still be. Who knows? I had to kill that window so I could hear what.
Well, he did say good morning here just a little while ago
Yeah, I
on
saw
here,
that.
so I know he's
that.
here. But on a serious note about the Hallowcon, what type of restrictions are you having as far as complying with the CDC?
Okay, we're basically going with state of Georgia and local mandates, or you know, res- guidelines or what requirements as they
And
currently
and
stand.
hotel room
Ye-
rules if
Yes,
they
are
yeah,
applicable.
yeah.
Uh, Basically, at the current time, you do not have to absolutely wear a mask, but it will be encouraged. There will be plenty of hand sanitizer available.
Hmm.
People will be asked and encouraged to wash their hands. Uh, Food will be handled by people wearing gloves and masks, giving it to them so people will not be cross contaminating utensils. Forks, spoons, and knives are individually wrapped, so we're not wasting a whole 3-pack if somebody drops a fork or whatever and needs to go back and get another one.
Hmm.
Um,
You do like Cracker Barrel does and put all three in a little
well,
paper sleeve.
there'll be
No,
some.
no,
It's
no.
all prepackaged, but
Yeah,
there's some.
it's pre-sterilized, prepackaged stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
If you need a fork and you don't need a spoon, you get a fork. If you
yeah,
need a fork and a knife, you get a fork and a knife, but you have to unwrap them yourself.
yeah.
Right.
There will probably be some where all three are together, but like I
Hmm.
said, if somebody drops a spoon and they just need a spoon, there'll be some individually wrapped spoons where they can get that. That way, they're not wasting 2 other pieces of plasticware. So we're trying to be health conscious and environmentally friendly.
And for the chili cook-off, we do have combat sporks available.
Yeah.
Hey, I
But
wanted that. Yeah, yeah. Ah.
And the one that comes out with all three prongs loses the cook-off.
well,
No.
this is the thing. The chairs, I'm probably going to go in about 3 a.m. every morning and spray them down with sanitizer. So, with the microban that lasts 24 hours. So, they will be safe. The stuff will be wiped down. Things in the panel room, they will be cleaned with Clorox, Lysol, or some similar type wipes. I mean, we're making it as humanly safe as we possibly can for everybody
Just
attending.
keep
I,
keep Lysol around because Lysol
We're
is
gonna look at
proven to kill COVID, and it actually says it on their cans.
Well, we'll have Lysol. We'll have sanitizing spray with
Hmm.
microban, which is
Hmm.
just as good as
mhm.
Lysol. And
Yep.
it lasts for 24 hours, not just a few hours.
Now, of the vendors I have talked to, most of them recommend having a bottle of hand sanitizer that they bring themselves,
Mm-hmm.
so
Hmm.
that people don't have to worry about somebody else having handled a book that they
Well,
didn't buy and take with them.
I
Um,
will tell you this. I know for a fact that we have a big 1 gallon pump bottle, a bottle with a pump of hand sanitizer. Plus, we have at least 8 16-ounce bottles of hand sanitizer that will be placed strategically around the area for people to use. And there may be more on hand, before the actual event starts.
so you're
So
talking just about the vendors room right
I'm
this
talking about
second.
the vendor's room and the con suite, the
Oh,
two
oh,
main
oh,
function
consuite
areas.
is even more important. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Um, I
because
do
that's where the tables will be wiped down every day after each meal.
I do believe that the vendors room, most of the vendors I've heard anything from plan on bringing their own hand sanitizer
Yeah, most of them do. Like I
just
said,
for their own table.
the stuff I bought is for everything. It's mainly going to
Yeah.
be throughout the main, you know, area where people will be gathering.
Well, I know you said something about when you went over there today that it was very cold there and they had the air on or something to that nature.
Yeah,
That could actually
the
be
AC got
beneficial.
fixed. The AC got fixed was the point Chris was making.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that could actually be beneficial in keeping things on the up and up.
Have you
with
ever
that.
seen Andromeda Strain?
Yeah.
Well, the whole thing is there was one condenser that was completely burned up. It got totally replaced. There were some bad connectors on another unit. So the climate control is working better than it has in a long, long time.
Mm.
And the filters have already been replaced. The vents have been cleaned. I mean, it's going to be about as safe as you can possibly make a place for a convention. And, if people follow the guidelines where they wash their hands, they're careful with what they come into contact with. I even listed helpful hints for before you come to the convention on Hallowcon's web group page and the actual page for Hallowcon about plan your routes and any stops that you might want to make along the way. This isn't in an exact order because I don't have it pulled up. Pack all your clothes and your costumes and ahead of time. That way you've already got that taken care of. You don't have to worry about that.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we're going to make it as safe as we possibly can, do stuff to boost your immune system. Take vitamin C and any supplements, elderberry or whatever you want to take to boost your immune system, so you've got your antibodies and your immune system up to full strength. Because if you got that, in addition to all the precautions we make, you should not have any problems getting anything that you don't want.
I highly recommend anybody that wants to party that you follow Joe Dog's advice and get the 5-hour energy drinks with the massive amounts of B12. Drink lots of water before you take it, before you ever start drinking.
Well, and that's another thing.
This will minimize hangovers and
Hydration is important.
Oh, yes.
I mentioned that in the list, and John put up a little photo of the 10,000 grams of B12.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to be careful about the energy drinks because some of those are pretty harmful to you.
Well, we're talking about the little.
Yeah, I know you're talking about the little kind of like shots or whatever.
One and a half ounce, or maybe 2 ounce.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, these people they come walking in there with a tall boy can of whatever energy drink and all that, and then you find out a couple months later they end up in the ER with a heart attack. Or
hey,
well, those things are not good for real coffee.
Either. No,
they're not. They're not.
But a boost to your vitamins, and they actually just came out today, and they were talking about how beneficial that was for cancer patients. And so, it's much the same way, which I'm always drinking vitamin water. I try to drink at least, besides my regular spring water that I fill this puppy up and have it throughout the day and the night. I drink a 16-ounce bottle of vitamin water that I won't even bother to go through all the vitamins and antioxidants that it has in it. But and then stuff for protein. Laura in the morning, because when she gets ready to go to work, she has some medicine where she's supposed to eat something, and she doesn't eat breakfast like how a lot of people do. And so she's been getting the Luna protein bars to help her out with that. Well, having bronchitis all week long and had no appetite and was really weak and was barely eating any soup, or I think she had a little bowl of rice one day, and I
Well,
kept,
that kind of thing destroys your appetite, really.
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. But if you don't force yourself to eat something, even if it's just a liquid diet, but you got to do something to get your strength back, and that's really the only way. Now the Z packs were taking away her cough and a couple other symptoms, and that's pretty much history. But like, I talked to her on the phone tonight. Had to go over. You talk about the air conditioning there, Chris. I had to go over to her dad's trailer tonight, and turn on the heat for the first time, because it's 42 degrees right now as we speak here. It's supposed to get down to 39 tonight, low of 42 tomorrow night. So this is the first time we're trying out the furnace for the year, which I know we got to change the filters in it. And I think my little sister Jenny's going to be doing that, but just getting it all pumped up and everything. And so I'm talking to her on the phone, and she says, well, I think I'm going to make a grilled cheese and try. I said, good. There's something solid. There's,
eventually you got to get on solid food again.
Yeah. The soup and the rice was fine the first couple of days, but you got to get beyond that.
Yep. I got the list pulled up that I made. This is helpful hints of stuff to do before coming to Hallowcon. Number 1, take some vitamins, supplements, and or eat foods or drinks to boost your immune systems. While we're doing everything we can to make it as safe and clean for you as possible, it doesn't hurt to help yourself to be as healthy as possible beforehand. Number 2, organize and pack your costumes beforehand to speed up your being ready to leave for Hallowcon. Expect one warm/hot day, a cool/cold day, and a wet and a dry day each for the clothes you want to bring besides any costumes. 3, plan your routes and any stops that you may want to make before you leave and arrive at Hallowcon ahead of time. 4, budget for purchases from authors and vendors plus the charity auction. You can get great gifts for your family, friends, yourself, and or help contribute to a charity. 5, like and join the Hallowcon page and the Hallowcon group page and follow both for more information. And 6, just be safe in traveling to Hallowcon, because we want to see you arrive in good condition and ready to enjoy the weekend. It's not rocket science, but it's all stuff that you can easily do to help make things a little better on the way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because between now and Halloween weekend, you just don't know what kind of weather we're having. We're falling more into the fall pattern now. We're going to have a little bit of a warm up at the beginning of the week, and then but that warm up here even isn't going to go above the lower 70s, and then we're going to drop back down into the lower 60s like we were here today, nice and dry, which after all the rain and everything we had the last 4 or 5 days, we ended up getting, I think, about a grand total of about 3.5 inches of rain where I'm at. I know some other areas of Illinois got a lot worse. And then, you get a small blast of heat, and then you get the dropping down again, and then more rain. And then now after this last rain last night, Friday night now, it just, the bottom dropped out on the temperatures. So you want to come prepared for everything, because Halloween could, you think about when you were a kid and going trick-or-treating, there were times you went out and it was almost too hot to wear costumes, and there was other times your mom or dad was making you wear a winter coat over your costume, which I had a story about that one time. My grandmother painstakingly hand sewn a Robin the Boy Wonder costume that looked just like this. the same colors and everything. She did the little booties. She did the little green underwear and that and everything. And it took her about a month and a half, close to 2 months to do all this. And I was about 7 or 8 years old. I think I was 7. She sends the costume to Cherokee. Oh, great. This is wonderful. And I'm trying it on and everything. Halloween night, it snows. It's cold.
Wow.
It's about 20-mile-an-hour winds and about 31 degrees outside. No, Billy, you're not going to wear just that costume. You're going to put on your coat and you're going to put on your hat. But Mom, Robin didn't wear a coat and a hat.
Yeah,
Robin didn't travel in 20-degree weather either.
Yeah, but Billy had to that year. So, and ironically enough, she said, well, why didn't you wear it next year? Well, my grandmother made it so fitting and kind of form fitting, but for most of it, yeah, I outgrew it. I was 5'11" by the time I was in 8th grade.
Wow.
So I can't remember how tall I was when I was 7, 8 years old, but I was going through growth spurts there for quite a while.
Didn't we all?
I don't know if you heard the rest of my
I'm sorry, but I did have to duck out for an emergency coolant leak.
Number 4 was budget for your purchases from authors and vendors, plus the charity auction. You can get great gifts for your family, friends, yourself, and or help contribute to a charity. 5 was like and join the Hallowcon page and the Hallowcon group page and follow both for more information. And the 6th one was just be safe from traveling to Hallowcon. We want to see you arrive in good condition and ready to enjoy the weekend.
Could I add a few of those from the conventions that I have gone through over the years?
Oh, there's going to be more in the booklet because I did a list of what to do when you're at the convention and what to do when you get ready to leave the convention.
Well, I bet you covered everything that I'm about to say. Showers are not optional.
Oh yeah, that was included. Do yourself and everyone a favor and shower or bathe at least once daily and use deodorant.
Yep. Every morning when you get up, hit the shower. Hot water is free. The hotel has plenty.
But yeah, that was one of the highlights I had.
And like you said, deodorant, yes indeed. Do yourself a favor. This is not a Middle Ages reenactment event. You don't need the actual smell from Agincourt.
I said you will do yourself and everyone else a great big favor by doing this.
Cleanliness is next to godliness. Unless you're looking into Funkin' Wagnalls, in which cleanliness is next to something else, and godliness is next to goggles, which is steampunk. But
so, are you basically saying that I cannot invite Keisha Acuff's canon reenactors to come directly to Hallowcon right after a battle?
Right after a battle, no. But if they want to launder their uniforms and take a shower, then yeah.
Bill, I kid you not, and Dan will probably admit to seeing this himself. I was at a convention where a guy was wearing a T-shirt and pants on a Friday night, and he's still wearing the same shit Sunday morning.
Only brought one outfit, did not shower the entire time. And
that's probably how his practice was at home.
This was Chattanooga, so it was rather warm at that time of year.
I believe this was in Atlanta, if I'm not
mistaken. Lord, even worse. That humidity would keep you from being able to more than, well, you wouldn't be able to sweat enough to stay warm, but you'd be
I'm
able to
not
sweat enough to
positive.
stink.
I'm not positive, but I think it was spring. It may have even been April. But still,
Yeah.
you don't have any more courtesy than to change clothes and take a shower the whole freaking time you're there?
I'll tell you what, having Civil War reenacting for over 22 years, you can imagine some people that I ran into. Now, I'm not talking about during or after a battle.
Yeah.
That's a given. Mm-hmm. And I would say most people are excused for their rankness. And I don't mean whether they were a lieutenant colonel or a sergeant, but the other kind of rankness. Well, but if you are up on a Saturday morning and just wandering around the camp, having a cup of coffee and smelling, I couldn't even begin to describe the smell, but just smelling like something that was dead maybe for 6 months, there's a problem there. And even wherever we went, we made sure, okay, granted, you're not going to have access to showers all the time because a lot of these are on actual battlefields.
In a reenactment situation, there is not often a full shower-enabled restroom on the facility.
Yeah.
No, yeah. And you
in
have
a hotel, yes, there is.
Right.
So
you have porta potties and such things. When we used to do a reenactment in Selma, Alabama, every 2 years,
and your corporate generals as well,
and it was right down on the river, a stone's throw away from the bridge that Martin Luther King marched across. And we thought, okay, we're right next to the river. We're going to bathe in the river. Till we found out that there were certain animals swimming around in the river who would easily eat
hazards. Us. Yes.
Yeah. The scaly water hazards with big teeth.
I went rafting with some friends on the Ocoee River, and I was okay with it till I saw that water moccasin sunning on a stone.
I'm talking about something bigger than that.
Oh, did it?
Yes.
Yep.
We were out there, and I'll tell you this very quickly, and then get back to my point. And I did want to touch on something that you mentioned, Chris, about the weather going down and coming back from Hallowcon, and I do have an idea about that. But anyway, we were in the river with our bars of soaps and our wash rags, and we're bathing and kind of swimming around and enjoying the coolness of it after this hot battle. And we seen an old Selma boy down over on this peninsula fishing. And then all of a sudden, he starts grabbing up his gear real quick and he takes off. And we're like, well, that's weird. Maybe his wife called him or whatever, and he's in trouble. Well, about another minute later, we found out why. And we seen old Wally Gator up there sunning himself on that same peninsula where that guy was just minutes before.
Considering there are now alligators in ponds in golf courses in Virginia, maybe bathing in rivers locally are not as much fun as you would want them to be. And believe me, I was in college in the 70s. I grew up with people that actually went to Woodstock, and they had horror stories about that that they came back with.
Well, the irony about all this is not even basically an eighth of a mile away. Well, not even really that. Probably half that distance. There's a modern park in Selma that has nice modern showers that are accessible to the public, and it was worth the little march to get over there to do that, and especially after seeing what we saw.
Mm. Well, the thing is about going to a convention, it's in a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
There are
Mhm.
all the modern conveniences. I mean, it's not like we're living in the 1930s, kids. Hot water doesn't cost anything if you got a membership and a hotel reservation. If you got a room, there's a shower there.
And they provide soap and shampoo if you forget to bring some.
Well, soap, shampoo,
Hair dryers, everything.
hair
I don't
dryers,
know about deodorant,
hand
but
conditioners.
everything else.
They and they will provide. I do believe nowadays hand sanitizer in little bitty bottles
Mhm.
is added into all the other bathroom conveniences that they do provide. Um,
When Laura and I went to spend the night in Chicago, well, actually, it was in Rosemont, but the Sheraton we stayed at had all that stuff that you mentioned. As far as the body wash and the shampoo and that was in pump dispensers right underneath the shower heads. You had the hand sanitizers in pump dispensers on one side by the sink in the bathroom, and on the other side, you had a pump dispenser that had the regular hand wash. And then, of course, you had the towels and your hair dryers and everything that was ever needed.
hey,
And
they've even got irons and ironing boards. I mean, seriously.
So there's no excuse.
Hotels are fun. They really are.
Oh, yeah.
It's like camping without all the inconveniences. You've got
We loved it.
I have never been to a convention hotel that was less than adequate. I have been to a couple that were borderline, but those were about to be sold to somebody else that needed to go through and restructure the entire hotel.
Yeah.
Because
but you do your homework before you go to these hotels, because there was one that Laura stayed at before when she had to make an emergency trip when her dad was still living up there. And she stayed in this hotel at the time, and it was close to her dad. She thought it was fine. When we were planning our trip back in June, she checked that one out, and you check out the reviews and everything. And she found out, they had lice problems. And it may not have been when she stayed there the last time, but they do now. And so we're like, okay, well, we're going to have to go a little bit further away and not be quite as close, which we were just 5 minutes further away. But, we did our homework before we went. And I'm very happy that we did, because that 5 Point Sheraton was a wonderful place. I recommend it.
Well, there's sometimes, though, you can't do your research. You look at their website for the hotel, and they
lie.
They lie.
Well, she went to it's not a specific website for any one hotel, but I can't think of the name of it. It's a website you get on when you're looking for a hotel. And they will have all of them on there with up-to-date reviews, and then they kind of put in their 2 cents worth in it as well. I can't think of that. I'll have to ask her and tell you guys that later. But yeah,
one of the most famous ones is, like Chris said, hotels.com. And there are others. There are others, and
The thing
some of
about
them
it,
are
though,
connected to specific chains.
yes,
And
there are also, you got to keep in mind, most people that are middle of the road about their feelings about it are not going to write a review. They're either going to be really impressed and happy about their experience and they're going to write a review about it, or they're going to be really unsatisfied and unhappy with their experience and they're going to write about it. Most of the
Mhm.
people in between aren't going to be moved enough to write it one way
Yep,
or the other.
it was a hotel. What do you expect? That sort of thing. And
Well,
they're
and the
not gonna.
neutrals
They're
and all
not gonna.
that add up into it. But
They're not gonna. They're not even gonna bother to attempt to write a review.
They might give a star rating to it, but they're probably not going to do a full review.
No, and that's one of the things that it does help a hotel if you
Chris,
just
you mentioned
if you leave an honest review, whether you liked it or not.
Mm-hmm.
They can either use that for, hey, this guy said we're incredible, or oh, we need to work on this because this guy said we suck.
or even they give you the option for neutral as
Mm-hmm.
well if you
Yeah,
really
Well, like I
don't
said, most
have that
people
one.
will
a
leave a
a
star rating.
neutral review doesn't do anybody any good. That just
Yeah.
means, yeah, I stayed there. So
Yeah,
Well,
it's
and they
like,
may
well,
not.
then rate it
Well,
like
it does good in the fact of that it counts as a number. So if you have 670 reviews on this Embassy Suite hotel,
mm-hmm.
and 25% of them are negative, and 40% of them are positive, and the rest are neutral, then it still helps you to determine, at least by the amount that they have, and the more reviews and the more recent reviews that you look at will help you a little bit better.
Well, the
But
more recent
Chris,
reviews are more telling.
yeah,
yeah,
you said something a little while ago. I don't want to get too far away from it,
Mm-hmm.
about when you were going over your list
Mm-hmm.
about making it to the convention safe and back home safe.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe there's something that the Hallowcon group might be able to do, provide a service. And I hate to volunteer somebody to do this, but darn, I'm so good at it. Since Josh cannot go, and with Josh's expertise with the United Weather Network and that, I'm wondering if he would be willing to do a little bit of volunteer work on just even setting up some forecast or any, as far as just
I
any
normally put
major weather.
I just normally put a forecast of the weather, usually that Wednesday or Thursday before the show.
yeah. And weather is one of those things where if you go more than 4 days out from where you're standing,
Yeah.
things can get weird.
The thing is right now, and this happens nearly every year. Like I said, in my helpful hints post,
Oh yeah. The
there,
trends of what actually happens from year to year,
yeah,
that's important too.
there's normally a cold day or a cool/cold day. There's normally a hot/warm day. There's usually a wet day and there's usually a dry day. And I told, let's see, I think Donna was asking about the weather, and I told her, I said, you want to bring like a short sleeve shirt one day and have a light jacket in case it gets cool, and you want to have a long sleeve shirt and maybe a slightly heavier jacket and expect it to rain one day. I don't know which day. Sometimes it's both days. Sometimes it's one day. Sometimes it's only part of a day. But
Yep.
it's usually going to rain at least at some point during the thing, and it's going to be dry the rest of the time.
Now, Chris,
That's,
you don't want
that's a historical conflict.
Confluence.
Yes, it's basically a combination of what has happened before on the same weekend. It's not a prediction. It is this happened most of the time.
Yeah,
So,
it happens about every year. I mean, it's not exact, but it's pretty close.
Now, Chris, don't ask them to bring a short sleeve shirt. Now, be smart about this. Say, well, it'll probably be cold and it might be wet, so prepare for that. Oh, if it gets hot, buy a Hallowcon t-shirt.
Well, yeah, but you know,
that's good marketing, Bill. That's good marketing.
I know, and it was a joke.
Yeah.
But
it's seriously good marketing.
I would not be opposed to them buying a Hallowcon t-shirt. I was just thinking of Donna traveling all the way from Illinois, and I was trying to make sure that she would have the proper clothing and enough of it to wear. If she wasn't able to buy a shirt, she bought books from authors or vendors, or you know, they wound up having to spend a little more on gas than they had planned on. You know, she wouldn't have to buy a t-shirt. But
that might be a very realistic thing to happen as far as spending a little bit more on gas.
It just now occurred to me to ask hotel parking. It's an open parking lot, right? There's not like a parking garage.
No, there's not a parking garage. There are.
That makes perfect sense.
And it's one of those.
I did not even consider it. Yeah.
It's also one of those older style parking designs where they have little rectangles on either side of the spot, so you have a little extra room to offload and move around.
Open the door without hitting somebody else's car.
Yes, exactly.
Yep, those are really nice, actually, and it shows a lot of consideration for the other people that are going to be parking next to you, that you don't ding their car.
Why don't they do that anymore?
Because everybody expects you to be in a smart car that's, you know, about two sizes larger than a Matchbox
Plus,
car.
they are trying to maximize parking spots. And
okay, Chris.
There's little rectangles there.
Speaking of parking and cars, do they have Tesla charging stations there?
No,
and if not, where is the nearest ones? Because there might be people driving them. Chattanooga.
About several miles up the road, yeah.
Chattanooga is about 30 minutes away.
Yeah.
Depending on traffic.
No, they're
will they hit Chattanooga first before getting there or afterwards?
No, it's after.
Depends on where they're coming from.
Well, yeah, I know that, but
some folks might be coming from Florida.
I'm thinking of, okay, they made it there all right.
Yeah.
To Hallowcon.
Brian and Carl will make it to Chattanooga before they arrive at Dalton.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, if he so chooses, can go through Atlanta before he hits Dalton, but Dan so not chooses to go through Atlanta before he goes to Dalton.
I don't blame him.
I think it was 76-42, something like that. I looked it up, but now I've forgotten. No, I am not going to go through Atlanta because I am a sane human being.
Right. Yeah. Nobody wants to go through hot Atlanta for any reason.
Dan, you will probably pass by my house on the way to Dalton.
I'll wave as I go by if I knew which one it
Yeah.
was.
I won't be there because I will already be at the hotel before you get there. But
Yeah, well, I'll be coming in on Thursday, and
I will be there Thursday.
uh, I I don't know if there is a strict 3 o'clock check-in time, but I would really love to get there about noon and try and avoid most of the traffic, the rush hour traffic through the towns that I'm
I,
going to have to pass through,
I will
like
tell you this:
Gainesville.
if you can make it to Dalton before 3 o'clock, you will be in good shape.
Oh, that's easy. Uh, I could make it to Dalton by 10 a.m. if I really wanted to.
No, that's not necessary. I, ideally, if you get there about 2 p.m., you're going to deal with the least amount of traffic that you're going to have to deal with.
Well, considering what I'm going to have to go through the rest of the way in between, I am going to make a couple of stops along the way just to kill time,
Mm-hmm.
trying to get there by a 3 p.m. check-in time.
Yeah.
And
They,
part of that might be heading south from the hotel and hitting a Kroger or something
yeah.
and doing a shopping run, and then coming back up
Yeah.
and trying to get my GPS to go. No, I'm not coming from Athens. I just want to get here.
And if it so happens that you get there early, uh, before that, if you want directions, I can see to it that you know exactly where you need to go.
Well,
In fact, I may need to go with you to get some supplies.
hey, I got no problem with that as long as we get together before I open the first beer, because I will not drive anywhere after I've had a drink.
That is perfectly fine with me.
And that's one of my hard and fast rules. I ain't going nowhere
Yeah.
after I've had a drink.
Yeah.
You're not going to enter into the Hallowcon go-kart races?
Hey, I've managed to avoid a DUI for 63 years. I am not taking any more chances the rest of my life either. You know, I'm too smart for that shit.
We don't have Hallowcon go-kart races, but we may need to add that to the list of things to consider.
Well, Laura's avoided it for 58 years, and we came close about a month ago, and I'm forbidden to utter anything on the show, and she knows. She said, she goes, I know you're on there late and you think you're safe when you're talking at 1 o'clock in the morning, but you forget I can watch the rerun. So I can't say anything about it, but all I can say is that right now, because of the grace of God and a very understanding police officer, Laura still has a perfect record.
Mm. Now, I left one LibertyCon going home to Athens, and we got out into traffic and got barely up to the speed limit and got pulled over. And the cop claims I'm going 90 miles an hour. And my wife is going, he just had turned on the cruise control. It was just barely 65. And I'm going, honey, I've got 2 GPSs in a rear view camera. He thought I was on a freaking cell phone. They just had enacted the cell phone law that would let them write out a ticket for somebody on a cell phone. He thought he had something. And even if that wasn't the case, I drive a van with lights all over it, a CB antenna, and all this other. Hey, I don't fault the man for wanting to find out what I got on the dashboard, but at least he didn't accuse me of having something in my bloodstream that shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
But no, he gave us a warning not to drive so fast. And I'm going, yeah, right. I hadn't even made it up to the damn speed limit yet, buggy.
driving the speed limit in Chicago, they'll pull you over to tell you to get up with the rest of the traffic that are driving 90 miles an hour or more.
I hadn't even had time to get up to the speed of the traffic around me. I hadn't even got time to get up to the posted speed limit. No, it was all the crap on my dash, all the cameras, everything. I had a brand new GPS that was recording our route, and old GPS that was telling me what my route was from the old days.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a rear view camera, a front view camera, and I'm going, honey, he's just curious. It's all right. Yeah. He's not going to write us out a ticket. We didn't do anything wrong.
You were lit up like the Enterprise's bridge.
Oh, man. We were lit up like Babylon 5 in full battle.
The reason why I was chuckling is, for some reason, my mind went back to Revenge of the Nerds, where the dad had the cruise control stuck on 35, and people were pissed off because he was on the interstate doing 35 on it.
I had just turned my cruise control on. I hadn't even hit the activate button yet because I hadn't got up to the speed limit yet.
Yeah.
And it's 70 through there, and the guy's going, "You were doing 90," and I'm going, "Fuck, no, I was."
and the next thought,
I can do 90 if you want to, but you know, I don't like going that fast.
And the next thought was the Beverly Hillbillies movie, where they were driving so slow on the interstate and people were shooting the birds, and they thought that was a California Hattie. And they started doing that, and this gang members pulled up and started pulling out their guns, and like, "That's nice, here's ours." He pulls that big double-barreled shotgun out and pointing at him, and they got theirs, and they're like, "Holy crap, we're getting the crap away from them."
This some bitch serious. Let's go home.
Well, Jim Varney was excellent in that movie as Judd Clampett.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Horace
was that one of his last roles?
It was one of them, I think. Horace Leachman as Granny was hilarious.
Oh yeah. Well, everybody did a great job in that movie. Everybody did.
And
it was so much fun.
The script was a little bit cheesy, but it poked a little bit too much fun at them being dumb. But the people that portrayed the roles made the characters likable.
Well, if you've ever watched the original,
mm-hmm.
they weren't dumb.
No.
They were unsophisticated.
But
by no means, they were smarter than most of the folks in California they were dealing with.
Exactly. And
they just had an excess of civilization lathered on top.
Yeah. They were actually trying to let people know that people from the South weren't as dumb as the stereotype
right.
was.
Dan, I have the answer to your question. Jim Varney's last movie was called Daddy and Them in 2001. Said Varney publicly disclosed his battle with cancer in 1999, but continued to work, filming his last project, Daddy and Them, 2001, starred and directed by Billy Bob Thornton. He died on February 10th, 2000 in Nashville, Tennessee at the age, I didn't realize this, only 50 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll have to look that up. Yeah, he was entirely too young to be undergoing.
Oh, yeah.
What he was doing. Yeah.
And the interesting thing was he was out of work for a long time, and just on a whim, somebody asked him if he wanted to do a commercial, and that's where he came up with Ernest P. Worrell.
Mm-hmm.
And it caught fire. Yep. Know what I mean, Vern?
Hey, Vern. Your old buddy Ernest.
I've got a series. I've got on VHS, which I can no longer watch because we don't have a working VHS player in the house. Yeah. But
we do. We got two of them now.
it is a retrospective of all his commercials, and then there's a bit in there where he goes, "Yeah, when I invented Ernest, I had to have somebody to talk to in these commercials, and I made up this guy Vern, and basically Vern is this one big glass eye mounted on this big old box."
Mm-hmm.
That rolls around and follows me everywhere.
I loved the Linder milk commercials that he used to do. And I think my favorite one, there was a ton of them, but my favorite one is where he's on well, they call it the merry-go-round, the metal one with the bars you had to hang on to in the playground as a kid. I'm sorry?
The carousel?
Carousel. Well, yeah, it's not the kind with the horses and that, but the kind that you just sat down or stood on and you hung on to the bars.
Yeah.
And he's talking to Vern, of course, and Vern is pushing it around. And you see Jim coming around on there, and he's talking about drinking Linder's milk so it could filled with vitamin D, so they could make his bones strong that he can hang on to this, and he keeps going faster and faster and faster.
That's enough, Vern.
And then all of a sudden you see it coming around, and you don't see him. And then it goes around again, and then you see him laying on the ground where he couldn't hold on any longer. It's absolutely hilarious.
Well,
but he did all his movies were my guilty pleasure, but I think Ernest Goes to Camp, which I believe was the first one, was really one of my favorites. But then the one Ernest Goes to Prison, there's actually a couple good things in there. When he's doing the floor scrubber at the bank.
There is a convention called Outside Con that is actually held on the very site that they filmed Ernest Goes to Camp. And it's usually the weekend after Dragon Con.
And it's usually Joe Dog there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Bob should be at Hallowcon, the guy that runs it. And the commercials I remember most for Jim Varney was Georgia Power, and then naturally being in Georgia, if you know.
Well, yeah, they were aimed at different areas. He might have been wherever he lived, but people kept hiring him to do local stuff for them. Now, one of my favorite things, absolutely, was Ernest Saves Christmas. And he's got Santa's sleigh, and he's trying to figure out how to make it work. And he gets up to the top of the ark, looking down on the earth, and they're just hanging there. He goes, nobody moves, nobody dies. And then one of the reindeer goes, boom! They start flying back down.
It's too bad Joe wasn't here for that.
Yeah, he will be in the reruns.
We're gonna make his flatulence famous.
I think we already have. It's already a convention legend over about 7 different conventions now.
Well, of course, especially since what happened at Memphis Mid-South when Gary Sheldon said, "Oh my God, that was you."
I forgot that Jim Varney did commercials for Sprite soda.
Oh, he did commercials for damn near everything.
I mean, that's basically what allowed him to act again, because he was in so many commercials. People were like, I like this guy.
He had to make a living, so if you offered him a commercial, he'd do it.
And I
It-
believe he was a Shakespearean trained actor, if I'm not
Yes, he
mistaken.
was. Yes. Have you ever seen the movie that he did on his own, where he played like half the characters in the movie was him?
Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit just
I
ago.
can't remember the name of it, and I wish I didn't have it on VHS. I wish I had it on something I could watch because
Okay, what
it
was he
was
playing
really
again?
good.
I bet.
Somebody would have to Google it. Where's John?
Yeah.
Freaking need him.
What
Well, I'm
was the
Googling what he
character was playing?
advertised.
What was the theme? Because I was looking at Ace's comment.
It was it was basically a science fiction movie. He was one of his parts was this if not alien villain, then some James Bond sort of villain. But good Lord, I can't even remember the title now. It's been so long. It's that was like
I'm
before.
looking it up.
This was like before Babylon 5 ever happened. So
How about Otto and the Riddle of the Gloom Beam?
yes. Right, Otto and the Riddle of the Gloom Beam. Yes, indeed, that was it. What year was that?
Hang on, let me look. 1985 science fiction comedy starring Jim Varney. It was written and directed by John R. Cherry III.
He played all kinds of characters, including one I believe was Otto that had a hand on the top.
Actually,
of the
he was the advertising director who was responsible for originating the Ernest character to begin with. John Cherry III. I'm looking up on the commercials. I guess he did over 6,000 spots, but the very first Ernest commercial, which was filmed in 1980, advertised an appearance by the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders at Beach Band Park, an amusement park near Bowling Green, Kentucky. Format of the commercials seldom varied and most often scripted to be comedic and fast-paced. But yeah, here we go, right here. Advertising executive John Cherry III. Barney originated the Ernest character in a series of regional television commercials. By one estimate, Ernest appeared in over 6,000 spots, hawking anything from ice cream to used cars.
The movie Ernest Goes to Camp actually had Gaillard Sartain in it. He was, I think, on Hee Haw. He's in it.
Yeah.
But there was a movie that I wish they would put on DVD, and I could yet to find it on DVD. All I can find is old VHS copies, and they're not great copies because, like you said, VHS and celluloid degenerates over time. It's called Leader of the Band, and it had Steve Landesberg that was in Barney Miller in it.
Oh, yeah.
It was a funny, cute movie. And it had Mercedes Rule in it, if I'm not mistaken.
If you will look in the comments, I just found it on YouTube. Hour and 32 minutes and 19 seconds.
Well, I was going to say Amazon's got it on Amazon Video. So you can watch it on Amazon if you have Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking on eBay, and it is not available on eBay.
Well, I'm going to have to click and bookmark this sucker because I want to watch it again. So let's see.
Yeah, Gaillard Sartain spells his last name the same way I spell mine, but we just do not pronounce it the same.
These things happen.
And everybody always said, but you're originally from the South.
What's that got
so? Does that mean that I have to say ain't all the? Well, I do say it a lot, but not all the time. And
I'm originally from Detroit. Does that mean I can't do my Southern accent anymore?
yeah, and
Bugger
I
that.
don't say crick. I say creek, not
those
crick, because
those
you
are
get a crick in your neck. And
Yeah.
actually, those are two different widths of stream.
Yeah.
They're no, technically, I went into great detail on what Southern people call different size bodies of running water,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a difference between crick and creek, and creek is a little bit wider, not much, but just a little bit, and might not meander just as far. A creek might not meander just as far as a creek, but eventually they wind up in a stream. And streams wind up going into rivers, even if the river's only 5 feet wide. And rivers wind up going into lakes, and lakes wind up going into whatever they feel like, especially if the TVA has got a dam in the place, and damn all that, it's going to get big.
Yep.
Lord have mercy.
That's what she said.
Y'all got me started now.
It's funny as you said that. I was glancing at my phone, seeing about some comments on some stuff and notifications.
well,
And, when you said it's going to get big, and then picture Adrian Barbeau pops up.
Believe it or not, I was in college with the guy that was doing the smoke effects for the original Swamp Thing movie, and he was doing the smoke effects for the scene where Adrian Barbeau disrobed.
Wow.
And the director had to call cut because he's sitting there really pumping on that smoke machine. They had to wait for the smoke to clear and do the scene over again, with him being a little bit more
mindful,
control of himself when he was pumping the smoke.
Well, he got an eyeful, and then
oh Lord, yes, did he? I mean, he's standing right there. Lord help me, the boy never got over it.
Well, you know, when you're in the presence of greatness, it tends to last a long time with your memories.
Well, he still kept going in doing special effects and things. So I haven't been keeping track of him because there's been a lot of movies since 1970. Mumble.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I thought Swamp Thing was like 83, 84.
Yeah, but I knew him earlier.
Okay, well, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, college for me was 76 through 78 before I ran out of money. And
that tends to happen.
Well, my college money came from baling hay and plowing fields and bush hogging. And I took like 3 years at the end, my junior, my sophomore, junior, and senior year of high school, building up money for college because I didn't expect to go to college.
Yeah,
I was going to enlist in the Air Force and try and get in and be a mechanic, working on Jeeps and airplanes and whatever. I didn't want to fly because I was nearsighted. I knew they'd never let me fly anything. But my mom thought I wanted to be a pilot, so she decided I was going to go to college instead. So I had to come up with money, and I finally ran out after two and a half years, and went to the factory, and I was planning on staying at the factory just long enough to make enough money to go back to college.
Yeah.
It's been 44 years now, and I haven't made enough money to go back to college yet.
Yeah.
And in 2 years, you'll be able to go back. By the way, Chris, 1982 for Swamp Thing.
Yeah, I knew it was somewhere in that vicinity. I wasn't too far off. I think I said 83 or 84. So.
And Dan, don't say you're too old to go.
Don't need to.
Well,
I'm
actually,
not going to be an architect or an interior designer anymore. My interests have changed. I am now a music composer and a science fiction
Yeah,
writer.
I was going to say you could further your education in that.
Hey, my education is getting further every day. You wouldn't believe the kind of research I do in order to write something.
Dan, I don't know if it's 62 or 65, but tuition's free for Georgia residents and Georgia colleges after that age, or it was.
Ooh.
I don't know if it.
Well, that's the thing. The degree I was pursuing is no longer relevant to my interests.
Well, like I said, you can change something else and it ain't going to cost you a thing. It's just whether you're interested and want to fool with it or not.
Well, I don't know anybody in the English department at UGA that would go, "Oh, you're a science fiction writer." Well, we don't allow that, but that's the kind of thing that I would be up against.
I actually know somebody from Reinhardt that's got a master's program that doesn't care if you're interested in science fiction or not.
Hey, then that would be fun. At this point in my life, I don't.
But it's not a public school, so I don't know if you would qualify for that or not. I think it has to be a public school.
I don't.
Like I said, you can look into it if you really want to. Like
I
said,
don't know that I need a degree.
No, I just said it's something
really
that you wanted to do.
This is sounding more and more like a commercial. Hey, Dan.
Like I said,
why don't you further your education and go back and you could learn a new language.
I've got a black belt in fiberglass. I don't know if I need a degree in interior design anymore. I'm already capable of drawing blueprints that people can turn into actual buildings.
It's a thought I've toyed with,
Yeah, I've thought about it. I've really thought about it.
Especially when it comes where I don't have to pay tuition, if that's still a thing. Because, like I said, it was a Georgia law that you could go back to school after. Like I said, I don't know if it's 62 or 65, and you wouldn't have to pay tuition.
I could go back
or matriculation, whatever they want to call it.
I could go back and audit all the fun classes that I never got to take before.
Yeah.
There's a ton of art classes that I never got to take because they didn't have anything to do with drafting or interior design or architecture or any of that. As long as I don't have to sit through an art history class where being able to pass an exam is if you have spent 64 hours a day looking at slides of some artwork that you're supposed to be able to identify by looking at a microdot of whatever it is.
Dan, I was 3 classes away from being a film minor.
Now, see, I didn't know. I don't know that they even offer that sort of thing.
Georgia State has a film department. That's one of the reasons why Atlanta is such a hotbed for movie making and all, is you have that built-in resource, education and training. You have the post-production houses. You have the filming that's come about in Georgia, which all started with a little film up near Hiawassee called Deliverance.
I have been camping in Tallulah Gorge. I know exactly about that.
The actual Georgia Film Office got started when Burt Reynolds and all of them started filming up in that area.
You know what I'd be afraid of is because of my experience being who I am and what I am online. I'd apply for some class at UGA and they'd make me a freaking journalism professor because I'm a publisher and an editor.
It's a possibility, Dan.
I know.
But that
was the ghost. Was the ghost of Osceola down there, Chris?
Do what?
I said, was the ghost of Osceola down there too? where they filmed Deliverance? That's the
No,
one that
but
isn't that the one that John Anderson talked about in that song?
Seminole Wind.
Seminole Wind. Yeah. Thank you. I'm
Florida
having a
State.
brain fart.
Seminoles were in Florida, though.
Yeah.
Oh, Florida. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But Burt Reynolds
I should
did
know that.
actually play football at Florida State till he got his knee.
Right. Yeah. Well, maybe that's where I was
He
mixing it up, but
he was also a.
And I should know my Indians. Doggone it.
You should know
It's
about
just
Tallulah Gorge.
It's too late.
We're in Cherokee country here.
Yeah,
I know.
Tallulah Gorge is holy ground for Cherokee.
Oh my God! I walked in today. Okay, now mind you, this was in Champaign in their mall, in a little hole in the wall store that claimed to sell Native American goods, which all came from China, and they played that traditional pan flute music that doesn't always, that it's just kind of a generic music or whatever.
I don't remember pan flutes and Paul Revere and the Raiders.
Yeah, really. But anyway, or even Redbone.
Oh, well.
But
Bill, I live.
No, this woman was in
from the Chief Fan House. Who was?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said I live 5 minutes away from the Chief Fan House, who was the greatest Cherokee chief ever. He was also probably the richest ever. He was so big that the Monroe administration sent a delegation here to visit with and to trade with and to have diplomatic mission with.
Well, isn't that a
missionaries?
Isn't that a museum now?
There is a state historical site on the side of the and if you go about 20 minutes south, you will have the New Echota State Historic Site, which was the capital for the Cherokee Nation.
Mm-hmm. No, I walked into this place today, and this woman, she kind of looked the part, and I was looking around at some things, and I did end up buying a T-shirt. Not so much for the photograph on the front, but I really dug the quote from Chief Joseph from Nez Perce, Indian Chief, on the back. And I wanted to ask her if she had this shirt in an extra large. I typically wear a large, but sometimes things are sized weird. So
it also depends on the fabric. Some of it.
Right. And this stuff is the Giljan brand T-shirts, which are typically fine. So I walk up there, and I just kind of had a hair up my butt. Thought I was going to mess around, and because I kept looking at all this other stuff that was so frickin' fake that it was, and it was just, and I remember this kind of stuff infiltrating Cherokee when I was yay high to a turnip, and just thinking how much money it took away from people who otherwise really couldn't earn much. And so it's always been under my control, and it's a very, very big pet peeve of mine. It always has been. So I walk up to her, and I look at her, and before she says anything, I say, "Osio doheche." And she looked at me real weird, and she goes, "What?" And I said, "Osio doheche." And she says, "I'm sorry, I don't understand Hispanics." And I looked at her, and I said, "No," I said, "Hello, how are you?" And I said, I'm not Hispanic. And oh. And she says, well, I'm fine. How are you? And I said, Ozda Wado. And then I said, oh, by the way, that means good. Thank you. And so, and then I asked her the question about the T-shirt. And I just kind of went on my way. And I know in saying that I was being sarcastic, but it just, all the stuff that I was looking at was just, ugh. And the things that I got Friday night at the auction, I knew to be authentic, and that the things that they had in this shop today, like I said, it was China or Thailand, whatever. And they go to great detail to kind of hide the fact of where it came from.
Well, the interesting thing about it is the Indians were treated terribly, and a lot of it was over gold. The Cherokee might not have been moved as soon as they were forcibly removed, if not for the discovery of gold in Dahlonega.
Yeah, I was about to say, Dahlonega.
And the thing is, even though they were treated terribly by the government for years, I think you'll find people, especially in this area, that have some Cherokee blood in them. Now, it may not be as pure enough to be considered Cherokee by the actual Cherokee, but I think you will discover that they have a lot more respect and caring about the Cherokee than generations before them might have had.
Well, and that's the thing with me. I don't. I know it always kind of irked me when somebody'd say, "Oh, I was 1/16 Cherokee or 1/8 Choctaw or what," you know, and I'm like, "Well, I'm probably 1/8 Aborigine. I don't know, but I don't tell. I tell people where I was born, and then I make it apparent that I say off the res, not on the res. But I had relations that was on the res. I had ancestors that were forced marched on the Trail of Tears, and we have a record of it. Well, they were on the Dawes Registry.
Well, the Trail
they're
of
part
Tears
of that.
Goes right by the Chief Ann house. Because it started out 225, that trail that eventually became State Highway 225, and it went out west towards Oklahoma.
Right, and it goes through Illinois, and then also Illinois through, and especially through this area here between Champaign and Danville, and then going on into Indiana, close to where Brian lives, is the Potawatomi Trail of Death, and we actually have the actual signs for it, and you can go. And of course, we're known for, well, 2 miles north of me is Kickapoo State Park because of the Kickapoo Indians, and the Potawatomi were up there, and several other things. Then we have 2 miles north of that is Kinnickuck County Park, named after the Kinnickuck Indians. Of course, I live in Vermilion County, named after Vermilion Indians. It's stinking Indians everywhere around here, whether you want it to be or not. But my point is that to the people that say they're 1/16 this or 1/8 that and that, it doesn't really bug me the way it used to, as long as they have the respect for those who were 100% Choctaw or 90% Cherokee, and they went through 100 years ago, or 130 or 140 years ago. And it's just all about the history end of it. It's like, I don't care what you are, but what do you know about it? And that's more important to me than what you are.
It does bug the crap out of me, because I was raised with the family story that we were part Cherokee, and then I took a DNA test, and there is absolutely not one drop of any Native American in our genealogical makeup. It's Turkey all the way across the Mediterranean to through you know France and over to England and on up into the Netherlands and Norway and Sweden. We're basically we're Turkish Vikings, and everybody lied about Cherokee because
Well,
there's African in there as well. And they
Vikings went
didn't
all
want to
over the
admit
world.
that. They didn't want to admit that whatsoever, that there was black people in the family as well as white people from Europe.
The Vikings
And,
didn't care where you were from; they were raping and pillaging.
well, it's a job. Uh,
Well, if you're familiar with Mad Mike, he's got a T-shirt that says "It takes a Viking to raise a village," and the "raise" is R-A-Z-E.
yes. And I'm afraid my ancestors, believe me, Count Dracula would have really have been against some of my ancestors, and probably would have been related to others. And then some of these French dandies, and then some of the Brits and the Scots and the Welsh, and then on up into my little brother has actually done the genealogy, and he's been able to trace my mom's family back to 9 AD.
Wow, that's impressive.
Hey, Vikings kept really good records of marriages and births and whatnot, and it's just kind of the most distant ancestor we can figure out was named Woden, and he was a tribal chief up somewhere that launched longboats. And my wife is British, and we're going. It's entirely possible, dear, that you and I are related, because we did kind of rampage across England, and there might have been some of your folks that met some of my folks, and had
I don't claim to be like 1/6 Cherokee, or 1/8, or 16th, or 32nd, or 64th, or whatever. I just know there was some Cherokee blood on my mom's side of the family somewhere in the past, because a lot of the Scotch Irish that settled this area were single men, and you couldn't get married unless you had property, and a lot of them intermarried among the Indian females.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad's side of the family is from the southern part of the state, and I have some Creek Indian in that family from way back when. Like I said, I'm not claiming to be, enough so I can get any rights or privileges that the tribes may have, but it's there. It may be small, but it's there, because obviously the Scotch Irish, and English rang true through the genetics more than any of it. But I also have been able to move behind people where they didn't hear me coming. So, Indians were supposed to be good at moving quietly. So I'm thinking maybe that's a little bit of leftover stuff from the genetics small amount that I might have gotten from them.
Well, the thing about
Well,
my play was I was disappointed that what I had been told since I was a child was
Yeah.
very, very untrue. And after having had a soft spot for uh, the Native Americans, whatever tribes they were in,
Mm,
I found out no, I didn't have any right to claim anything.
yeah. Well,
I
like I
don't know
said,
if you can see this. I pulled it up.
hmm
Well, the way our screens are right now, I can't really put the whole thing
yeah,
on there.
I can't see the whole thing, but
But
I can see Doll's final rolls. Search the Doll's
yeah,
final rolls.
that's who I'm named after, William R.
Hmm
This is the final roll in Oklahoma after the
hmm
march. Um, and his wife was Lucinda.
hmm
Oop. Now,
I'm
if I can get it
trying. I'm
straight,
trying.
yeah,
That ain't.
there we go. Close enough.
And there apparently was Gilbert.
And Gilbert was a son,
Okay.
and that's the roll number, the card
Mhm.
number at the top
Yeah.
on there, and they were Cherokee. But anyway, those were the ones that made it, and
There were
We-
a lot of people that did not make it on
No.
that trail.
no, they
That's one of the reasons why it was called the Trail of Tears, because
Oh,
they were marched out too late in the year. They were given improper provisions. It got really cold, especially the closer they got to Oklahoma. And like I said, it was just terrible, the ordeal that they had to go through to get there. And those that survived were lucky. Some
well,
might say they were unlucky, but it's a tragedy that I know there's some people that don't want to relive the bad moments of history, but if you don't remember them, how are you going to keep from repeating them
yeah.
somewhere down the line?
You have to acknowledge that bad things happened in order to try and make sure they don't happen again.
Exactly. And
Now,
some people can't understand that.
gentlemen, we have less than a minute left.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was planning on saying
And-
goodnight because I need to get in bed. I got a busy day tomorrow.
yeah.
So-
And by the way, there was a little bit over 3,000 that did not make it on that forced march.
I'm surprised it wasn't higher than that, to be perfectly honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
And on that sad note, I will bid y'all good night. And until next time, gentlemen, y'all have a great evening and a great Sunday.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see you
See you.
Thursday night, if not sooner.
Yep. Take care.
Vaya con Dios.
Vaya con Dios. And until then, bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. And that just goes to show what odd topics can come up and what important topics can come up in any random discussion at a science fiction convention or an imitation of those discussions like we have on Stupid O'Clock and here on Last Man Standing. Everything said was important and meaningful and relating to some kind of history, either official or unofficial or suppressed histories. And on that note, don't you got something to do tomorrow? I know I've got something to do. So good night, everybody. Welcome to the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. Here you will find a variety of shows which cover a wide array of interests, from comics to creativity, mysteries to mixology, and science to history. There's something for all interests at the Rising Tide. There are shows every day of the week, daytime and nighttime. So take a look at our schedule and see what appeals to you. If you're interested in comics, both independent and mainstream, check out Comics Chaos and Sass, or Comic Book Spectrum, or From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. If you want encouragement and advice on furthering your creativity, we have Creative as Hail and Tidbits and Scribbles. If you enjoy mysteries and conspiracy theories, we have The Truth Mongers. If you're into interviews with up-and-coming talents, there is a TED Talks made just for you, as well as clever title ending. If you're into classic combat sports, there's the Historical Fencing Guild. And if you want to know what it's like to hang out with convention regulars, we have Stupid O'Clock and Last Man Standing. If you want witty repartee and fast-paced fun, check out Nevermind the Furthermore. If the science of rocketry and spaceflight is your thing, we have Armchair Rocket Science. But that's by no means all the Rising Tide has to offer. New shows will be added as they develop, so stay tuned. All Rising Tide shows share a spirit of mutual cooperation, under the philosophy that a rising tide raises all ships. Lightly ruled over by our comic ringmaster of mayhem, Brian K. Morris, we support and promote each other's works. What helps one of us to greater success helps all of us achieve even more successes. So look at the schedule, check out the shows, and we're sure that you will want to come back for more.